Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Trauma Pond HQ. My name's Olivia and this is where we sit by the pond and we have a little chat. And today we're going to talk about a very dysfunctional family that apparently a lot of people can't get enough of, even with the scandals that they have. So yes, that means that we are talking about the number one narcissistic family, the Kardashians. I really didn't ever think that I would be doing this, but when it comes to trying to understand dysfunctional family dynamics, it's a really good one to understand it with. We get to see what triangulation is within this family dynamic. Obviously, whenever it comes to dysfunctional families, the reason why is the parents. And Chris is the number one reason why this is a dysfunctional family. The reason being is because Chris, obviously, she is highly narcissistic. She's what I would probably say is a grandiose narcissist. The reason why she's grandiose is because everything has to look a particular way. She has to have everything according to a brand. And narcissistic people, they genuinely couldn't care less about anything around them other than the image that it portrays for them. When it comes to narcissistic people having kids, they only use kids as, like I've said before, narcissistic people will only ever use people as toys or tools. And if you're not going to fit into either of those dynamics, you're going to be a target. And that's exactly what she does with her kids. Kris Jenner, being the manager of her children, primarily just her daughters, they're just commodities. Another thing that a lot of people don't actually understand with narcissistic parents, they don't love their children. That's a very horrible thing to say. And you're probably going to turn around and say, oh, she does love her kids. She has all of these kids. Look at the relationship she has between, herself and Kim and herself and Kylie. And like, yeah, because they're her best commodities. Look at how she treats her other children that don't meet the bar for what her goal's in line with, which is to create an empire using her children. If there's one thing that we can definitely break down and deduce is that narcissistic people, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that will ever make them emotionally connected to you, unless it's to do with something that aligns with their goals, but that's surface level. They only care about things that are surface level. So now we understand who the narcissist is in the family. Let's break down the family roles. First role is the scapegoat. So the scapegoats are Courtney and Rob. A lot of people forget about Rob, and there's a reason for that. The only person missing from this image right here is Rob. Not even just the fact that he is a scapegoat, but he's also invisible. And that's it's a horrible role. I know exactly what both of those roles feel like. I go through it all the time and have been for the last few years especially. Chris has never liked him. Rob definitely got the worst of it. Like, we see that Courtney gets it a lot, especially throughout the family, but at least she had one upper hand on Rob, and that's because she was born a girl. So unfortunately, the gender role for this really hit hard for the Kardashian clan. If you were born a boy, even in the grandkids, you see that they favor the girls an awful lot more because they're the ones that can make money, which is really odd. Talk about role reversals. Usually it was always the men that made the money, and now the Kardashians are making it like, yep, women can make the most money as long as you're willing to sell your body for it. Ooh, yeah, I went there. Rob was never going to have a good outcome. I'm pretty sure when Chris found out that when she was going to have a boy, she was really disheartened. But at least she had 3 other girls before she could turn around and say, oh, this one's broken. Because of the amount of abuse that Rob has suffered with, and not just at the hands of Chris, but also majorly at the hands of Kim as well. Because Chris is the first level of control. She's the one that has been able to manipulate her kids into being a certain way, including fighting her battles. That pretty much means that Rob was always going to be under attack because he didn't meet the standard, because he's a boy. But why is Courtney a scapegoat? The reason why Courtney is a scapegoat is because she's a truth teller. Truth tellers are kryptonite to narcissists. They cannot stand it when truth tellers exist. And the biggest problem that has been throughout Courtney's life was that she had to suffer at the hands of seeing the family fall apart between her dad and her mom because Chris was having an affair with another man. And of course, those would have been horrible fights. And it's not exactly something that a 4-year-old should see. So when Courtney talks about bringing up traumatic events from her childhood, Chris is just blowing it over and saying she had the best childhood. What's she talking about?
Best, most magical childhood anyone could ask for.
It bothers me, like, even how she, like, says the memory she has with you. And, like, I get annoyed by that.
All she had was Cinderella, fairy dust, and magical wands. I mean, it was the best. She was doted on as a child.
Caviar wishes and champagne dreams.
Exactly what it was.
That's the thing that narcissistic parents do whenever they're confronted by anything that they've ever done, especially with their children. They completely blow it out, like as if it never happened, or that they're being over dramatized. Courtney has always been the person that has fought for herself. She's defended herself, and that does not go well in a narcissistic household. Anyone that calls out the narcissist is going to have a massive target on their back. When a scapegoat has a target on their back, that's when the narcissist really hones in with triangulation. So the triangulation is getting the other kids to pawn them off against each other. This is something that narcissistic parents really take pride in doing. They love putting the kids on certain pedestals and then making sure that those kids will fight the battles for them. My mom used to do this all the time, and anytime that there was something that went really, really wrong or something that was exceptionally upsetting, my siblings would fight the battle for our mom. A great example of this one was I came out about my sexual assault, and I did it in a very dramatic way. It was during the Me Too movement. I put a video out saying these are the things that happened to me, and it got a lot of traction to the point that I didn't actually realize it would take off. Like, you know, back then on Facebook, I'm a nobody, and certain people were seeing it, and it was getting a lot of traction, but positive attraction. I decided to call my parents and let them know that I had done this, and I'm not taking it down because I feel like it's very important. My mom absolutely flew off her handle, calling me the worst person in the world for ever doing something like that. She said she hadn't seen it, but she had seen what it had done to my dad. Now, I completely understand that my dad would have been absolutely distraught about this. He has never spoken to me about it, ever. And that's another thing that comes with having a narcissistic parent and a non-narcissistic parent. The will to live dies in the non-narcissistic parent. They just go about their daily life just trying to get by. And that's what I constantly see in my dad. Well, when I was in the family, he just did his thing, scooted by, and everything else was, oh well. So my dad never spoke to me about me talking about what had happened in college. However, I stopped talking to my mom and my dad for 2 weeks. My siblings were talking to me during this time because they were really upset that they had discovered that this had happened to me. But then my brother decides to kick in and say, you know, you should really call mom, just talk to her. She's really upset. And then they start making out that the whole situation happened to them. That's what the triangulation starts doing. Anything bad that happens to the scapegoat, the narcissist will triangulate all the other siblings to make out that the narcissist is the victim of the situation and the scapegoat has caused something to make the situation the way that it is. And then they try to fix it off. So I can imagine that Courtney experienced this quite a bit within her life, especially if she had to deal with an awful lot of things between her mom and her dad and the affair. So many things between like her sisters as well. There was like apparently a situation between Kim wearing Courtney's jeans or something like that. And for some strange reason, those kind of things really get taken to heart. There are a lot of things that had happened between me and my siblings growing up that they still hold grudges on. They hold grudges. I don't. I'm like, okay, let it go. It was a jigsaw puzzle. It was bread. It was dirty pans. And they will hold those things against you because they're really, really petty. They're in the cult. Courtney most likely has had to deal with this her whole life. And now she's gotten to a stage where she's starting to really fight back. And a lot of people, especially online, are saying that Courtney is being really ungrateful. She's being insufferable. She's fighting all the time. It's like, yeah, you try being beaten up every single day and not start to get angry about it. Imagine that this is what triangulation is. You have your hands tied behind your back and you're being kicked ever so slightly every single day by everyone else around you. That's gonna hurt. And eventually you're gonna get sick of it and you're gonna start snapping. You're going to get really aggressive. How can you not? That's what boundaries end up being put in place for, because there's only so much that you can do and there's only so much that you can put up with. So Courtney and Rob are the scapegoats because Courtney is a truth teller and Rob is invisible. Now, the reason why people become scapegoats are completely different. The reason why I became a scapegoat is because I had dyslexia and ADHD, and that was a massive shame. Like, that was the shame of the household. So the way that I was growing up, neurodeficient and also suffering with learning disabilities, that was a massive shame. And my mom did not like the fact that she had given birth to someone that wouldn't be able to do anything. I was really struggling in school, so that was something that was seen as, oh, she's not going to be worth anything when she's older. Well, we'll see about that. So this brings us on to the golden child. What is the role of the golden child? There is no role. They're the golden child. They are blessed. The golden children in the Kardashian family, that is Kim and Kylie. They do not see anything from the other kids' perspective. And if anything, Kim has turned into a vile piece of work. I see Kim as possibly the most evil person in the entire Kardashian clan. I actually see her as worse than her mom. And the reason being is because already her kids are being used as commodities. How she has spoken to Courtney, how she spoke to Rob. Rob actually attempted to end his life, and it was most likely at the hands of how Kim was treating him. That's a very aggressive thing to say.
She's my mother. And don't ever disrespect me and talk about how I'm a loser and I don't have a job. Because you say that to me on a daily and you say that to everyone. Bible on Dad, you definitely do. You probably say it maybe over 12 times a year.
You acted like my idea was crazy. I have like more right than you to use Arthur George. It's my middle name. It's crazy to me how she actually is trying to tell me that I can't use my middle name, my dad's middle name. I feel like nobody ever takes me seriously.
As someone who was a scapegoat, I felt pressure from not just my mom being really horrible to me, not just my siblings being horrible to me, but then also losing someone who meant so much to me as well. I couldn't go on. My siblings were not helping the situation either. They all, like I said, they triangulate and they go against you as well. With the narcissist, they can take a step back and all they have to do is say a couple of things saying that, oh, she's just really hard to deal with. She never does anything around here. She's doing things bad to hurt me. That's pretty much everything that a narcissistic person needs to do to make the other ones go and sort things out, because they will prey on the idea that you cannot upset the narcissist. You cannot do it. If you upset the narcissist, you're trash. You don't exist. So that's exactly how Kim treated Rob and Courtney. On top of that, she's using her daughters an awful lot for extra clout, putting them on Instagram and social media and everything. They are everywhere. And like, she uses them as show bait. She loves to put people down. She's always talking about how she's the only hard worker in the whole place.
Maybe if you had a business that you were passionate about, then you would know what it takes to run a business, but you don't. So don't even act like you know what I'm talking about.
Courtney, you just have a way of rubbing people the wrong way.
Well, the only reason why you have what you have is because of your mom. Your mom is your career. Your mom is your manager. You wouldn't have anything, and I'm pretty sure your mom does most of your work anyway. You love to shame people. There are so many videos of you shaming your sisters and saying how you're the only one that works. I mean, for God's sake, that was a meme for such a long time. Nobody wants to work hard these days. I have not got anywhere near the same amount of money as you. I study full time. I'm trying to get 2 businesses off the ground, and I'm writing a book. And I'm nowhere near that level of success yet. But we'll see. The messed up thing is, she will put anyone down that tries to do anything for themselves. Rob is a great example of that. He actually said he wanted to start his own businesses, but Kim was the first to start shooting bullets at him, saying how it was such a stupid, pathetic idea and no one was going to go for it. She really put him down about it. And when you've constantly heard that your whole life, you really believe it. You totally believe that everything that you're going to do is just wrong. There's a reason why Rob has become the way that he has become and why he ended up putting on so much weight. That's a trauma response. Now, Kylie, on the other hand, this is a difficult one. Kylie only became the golden child once she got her lips done. And then she started taking off on social media because her whole look had changed. And that's when Chris started to see dollar signs for Kylie.
Am I your favorite child?
Yes.
True.
So like I said, narcissistic people only see value in those that give them glory and value, which Kylie and Kim have. They make the most money. I think Kim is upwards of 1 billion and Kylie is just behind her. Kylie, like I said, I have no idea what Kylie is going to be. She's hit the golden star status quite late on in life. I mean, she does use her kids as well as commodity. It's a really tricky one. I don't know if she is narcissistic or not. I can't tell. She doesn't seem it. But then again, she could just be like her mom and she's able to hide it really, really well. Because let's face it, Kris Jenner is exceptionally intelligent. She's very, very smart. Look at what she's been able to do. To build this empire the way that she has, that's impressive. So now we come to the peacekeepers. Now, the peacekeepers, I have got major, major beef with because they are the ultimate flying monkeys for the narcissist. They want to try and make everything work in the way so that everything is just kept cool, calm, and collected. But that comes to the expense of the others who are affected. For instance, there are plenty of conversations where Courtney is stuck in some sort of drama and Chloe is there backing up the other siblings or their mom saying, you just remember it differently.
I'm just saying sometimes our memories get a little warped by our age. Yeah. I'm just saying, but don't be so hard on your mom. For some reason, you do not give mom the benefit of the doubt ever from your childhood, and it's really unfair. You only remember with Todd or this or that.
I'll say this right now. The worst thing flying monkeys do, it's turn around and say, what mom did wasn't even that bad. It is horrible. It's the most horrible thing when you have someone turn around and completely discredit what you have gone through. It's like turning around to someone who's been sexually assaulted and say, yeah, but was it really that bad? It's on the same level. It is on the same level. My sister became a peacekeeper in the family and now she is potentially narcissistic herself. Last time I spoke to her, she said, the reason why the family don't like you is because you're so unhinged.
She's the least exciting to look at.
Because I'm a truth teller. And they don't like the truth tellers. You can't be a truth teller in a narcissistic family. If you are a truth teller, you are going to get labeled as the difficult one, the unhinged one, the uncaring one, the one that does nothing for the family. That is what the peacekeeper really drives the force. If anything, the peacekeeper is the one that is heavily indoctrinated into the cult. If we are to say that obviously Kris Jenner is the leader of the cult, the peacekeeper, mainly Khloe, Kendall sometimes, but she does get it. Khloe is the one that she doesn't see anything wrong with what's going on. She thinks that Kim's got the better style of parenting. She thinks that everything that her mom does is absolutely golden. It's kind of really controversial what I'm going to say, but I really do argue as to whether or not the peacekeeper or flying monkeys, I'm really wondering as to whether or not they have souls. They can't make their own decisions. They rely on the narcissist to make all of the decisions because they can't do them themselves. She doesn't know herself. Like, Khloe does not know herself. Even down to the fact that Khloe said that she wanted to have another baby, Kim convinced her to do surrogacy. And there's a whole thing that's come out recently about the fact that Khloe is not attaching to the baby that she didn't give birth to, even though it's hers. And there's a reason for that. She has a slight amount of empathy. Kim has zero empathy. So when she put out to Khloe to do surrogacy, she was like, it's fine. But then Khloe, who has empathy, feels less attachment. She said that she felt like it was a transaction. She said it was so hard to watch someone go through the pain of childbirth and then take that baby away. That's an empathetic response. And then, of course, she's wondering about what is actually happening to the baby and the fact that, you know, they didn't grow together. And Kim goes, yeah, it's because, like, you didn't share the same heart. You didn't have all of those organs. It's like, it's nothing to do with that. There's a multitude of things. And you didn't compute this to your sister because it's not on a comprehensible level for you. So the fact that Khloe cannot make her own decisions and really go into depth for herself on anything that she wants to do in life, she relies on the wrong people to make the life choices. And that's something that the peacekeeper always does because they want to please. All they can do is fight for the attention and affection of the narcissistic people. And of course, Kim and Kris are the most powerful ones in that family. It was quite concerning whenever I learned that should anything happen to Khloe, she said that she wanted to give her kids to Kim and make Kim kind of like the godparent. But she wasn't going to choose Kourtney because she didn't agree with her parenting style. Why? Why do you not agree with Kourtney's one whenever she doesn't want her kids to be exposed as much as Kim's kids are exposed? What does Kim do that you agree with? Or is it the fact that it's just been swayed in that option? You're trying to please the people that if they get really angry and they get so upset and they don't get their way, all hell breaks loose. The peacekeeper goes and does everything for the narcissist because they know that anything that goes off is going to have a very negative response. Then, of course, we've got the other peacekeeper child, and that is Kendall. Now, Kendall is pretty much in and of herself. She also doesn't buy into the fact that her mom says she wants the best for her and all of this sort of thing. It's like, yeah, sure you do. She has sat back and observed how she has treated all the other Kardashians and seen how Rob is. She sees how Kim is. She sees how Khloe is and Kourtney and everyone else. Kendall's not the biggest fan of her mom. She sees it. Like, she sees what's going on with her mom. She knows the truth. It's just whether or not she ever decides to, like, have kids. I think that if Kendall ever decides to have kids, she will not be able to deal with her mom being in control in that way. But she has to live in it. And that's really, really hard to do. When you are involved in something that is so fiery and so dramatic all the time, like, you're constantly in fight or flight response. She does talk about the fact that she has very high anxiety, and I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why is because she has Chris as a mom and Kim as a sister.
If I were on my deathbed, I would still show up. And Mom is so used to me, Courtney, me and Chloe, going on our deathbeds. No, you get anxiety, and it's like,
are you f***ing kidding me? Like, I literally will come at you right.
It doesn't help any situations. Like, the lucky thing for me is that I actually didn't have narcissistic siblings. I do believe that potentially one of my siblings has now developed narcissistic traits, but I could be very wrong in that. I could just be seeing it as, well, she takes the side of the narcissist way too often. Another weird thing that happens in this family is the fact that Courtney has to deal with the fact that they would rather have Scott in the family than her. And I've also experienced that as well. When I was married and when I was going through my separation, and for the first year and a half of my separation, my family was still talking to my soon-to-be ex-husband behind my back, constantly talking to him all the time. They probably still do. I wouldn't be surprised. My dad and my ex-husband got on really, really well. And he also got on really well with my siblings, better than I ever did. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually are still in contact. But that's a weird dynamic. And it makes sense for her because, you know, she had kids with Scott. I didn't have any kids. We did not have children together. So that it doesn't make any sense why my family would call and have conversations with my ex-husband. Especially like they don't talk to me at all anymore. It doesn't make any sense. Well, it probably does, because I'm the scapegoat. I'm the truth teller. I am unhinged. The fact that Courtney is actually pretty healthy is insane. Chloe is not. She has a lot of like health issues and things like that. I mean, yes, she had skin cancer not that long ago, but she's always had major health issues, like especially like mental health issues. She's always battled with her weight, which I'm not surprised with because I'm pretty sure Chris would have been saying you're getting too big or things like that. Even Kim has been known to say that to her as well. She also has a control issue. Like, I don't believe she has OCD, but she does have control about, you know, her living spaces. There's a very famous one of trying to like organize a pantry in a certain way. That's her major control. I wouldn't say that it's OCD, it's just a control thing. Of course, the person who I feel sorry for the most is Rob Kardashian, because he has had to deal with an absurd amount of mental health issues. You know, these are the things that actually come from having a narcissistic parent. I myself have got a mountain of health issues as a result of having a narcissistic parent. There's so many things. There are so many things wrong with this family. The dysfunction, the attitude towards each other. They keep on making out like, oh, we'll do anything for the family. It's like, no, you fucking don't. Don't even pretend that you are going to be there for each other whenever they're going through something really, really tough. But you're going to put everything out on camera. And let's face it this way. Chris has a lot of power. This is something that I find very, very odd. This is a screenshot that I took of trying to find out all of the age gaps between the siblings. And this was what I found. Why is Courtney not in the Google search? There's a lot of things going on with the Kardashians this year. This seems to be like their downfall year. But the real big thing is that Chris is going for Courtney hard this year. And it's sad because she's pregnant right now. I also find it very bizarre that she's not posting up anything about Courtney's pregnancy. She thrives on pregnancies as well. Maybe it's because she knew she was going to have a boy. I don't know. She's going, another broken one. It's amazing how dysfunctional families are getting notoriety in the worst way possible, and how narcissistic people are not seen as the villain, but the scapegoats are. I am the biggest villain that has ever graced the stage of my family. And you know what? I'm proud of it now. I will say this though. Courtney wants to try and detach herself from her family as much as she can, and Rob is already doing that. But I do want to point something out. When the scapegoat leaves the family, it is one of the hardest things you can ever imagine. They do say that being exiled or being banished is a fate worse than death. And it is. I learned my position in my family the last time I went home, and 2 of my siblings wouldn't talk to me at all. And I have no idea what prompted it, other than the fact that I spoke out about what had happened to me with my injury. Unfortunately, because of who my siblings are sleeping with, I am now a massive target. As much as I still love and will always care about my siblings, if my siblings ever wanted to see me, I would welcome them with open arms. But I don't ever see that happening because, like I said, if you're anything outside of being the scapegoat or the truth teller, you're pretty much deep in the cult. Narcissistic families are just like cults, and you can't tell them any different. Because I feel like people in cults feel like they've been brainwashed, and that makes them stupid. Well, it doesn't make you stupid. It just means that you've been brainwashed. And those are 2 different things. I genuinely can't even give words to what it feels like to be exiled from your family. It's a fate worse than death. And not a day goes by that I don't think about my family. I constantly think, are they okay? What are they doing? Do they know I exist anymore? All of these things. You're always wondering what's going on. And you have this deep-seated feeling of guilt, grief, and betrayal. I mean, of course you feel guilty because you think of the role that you had in being exiled. You feel grief because of the circumstances and feeling like you've experienced death. But the betrayal comes more so from siblings. I don't feel betrayal from my mom because I know what she is. And things like that are not on a human level. I don't have to feel anything for her. But I do feel sorry for my siblings because they know the things that I have gone through, and they choose to ignore it, or they have repainted it in a different way. And a lot of the time they actually feel like, what it wasn't a big deal. Being beaten for being sick is a pretty big deal. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've experienced, if you haven't seen that one so far. Yeah, I used to get beaten for being sick because my sickness was shameful. Because it wasn't visible. The things that I experienced were a lot worse than what they ever experienced, and that's why they don't believe that anything that I went through was that bad. But they never had the same experience as I did. They didn't have the same disabilities that I did. They didn't have the same downfalls or anything. And that's also the trauma that comes from being the eldest child as well. If Courtney does end up mustering the strength to leave, she should know that it is the most painful thing that you'll ever experience. Just FYI. I genuinely don't know which is actually better, having kidney failure or living with being exiled. Yeah, the exiled. I'm over the kidney failure. I've got very dark humor now. All right, guys. I hope that this has been uplifting. Guys, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, and hit me up. Tell me what you think. Leave little comments. I am still learning. And there are people that are saying, we know you're new to YouTube. And some of them are questioning my credentials. Well, life is a good credential. If anything, I did say this to my partner. I was like, if you're going to choose anyone for a particular job, are you going to choose the one that's gone through 4 years of university with no experience? Or are you going to choose a person that has gone through 30 years of experience? Yeah. 30 years of experience with no qualifications is better than a person that just has the qualifications. All right, that's my 2 cents and the 2 comments that have been left for me. I will see you again very soon. If you like, please subscribe, leave comments. It really helps. And I appreciate you all for spending the time and listening to me rant about the Kardashian clan. All right, guys, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time for Trauma Pond HQ.